Are there natural ways to treat hypothyroidism?
Yeah, there are several natural ways to treat hypothyroidism. There are a couple different kinds of hypothyroidism. One is the thyroid just simply underfunctioning, and one is the reason it's underfunctioning is because of an autoimmune condition. And that is by far the most common cause of hypothyroidism is what's called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's an autoimmune reaction against the thyroid gland and some of the thyroid molecules that are causing an underfunctioning of the thyroid.
And that's common.
And that's the most common form of hypothyroid.
Okay, I see.
So the way to treat hypothyroid looks at the different areas of the thyroid. So for one, the thyroid concentrates certain nutrients to make thyroid hormone itself. So those nutrients can be provided to improve the making of hormones. So nutrients like tyrosine, iodine, vitamin B12 are all necessary to make thyroid hormone. Now, when the thyroid hormone is produced and released from the thyroid, it's what's called T4. That's the majority of the thyroid hormone in the blood is T4. And it's thought to be the storage form of thyroid hormone because it's not active. It doesn't act at the cellular level.
Okay.
And the active form is T3. And so when the body needs a thyroid hormone, it converts T4 to T3, and the T3 is the active form. Now, there are certain nutrients, again, that can affect that conversion rate from T4 to T3 and are actually necessary for that conversion to occur, one of which is selenium.
Okay.
And so if your selenium status is low, giving selenium can improve that T4 to T3 conversion. And incidentally, there's also studies showing that in a certain percentage of people, selenium can actually lower the antibodies present in the blood. So, you know, it treats both the underfunctioning thyroid as well as the autoimmune nature. Now, there are other ways to make your thyroid function more optimally. One would be exercise. It improves circulation of the thyroid. It puts out more thyroid hormone.
Okay.
But you don't want your thyroid to get overheated because in really hot environments, the thyroid functioning slows down. Another way would be cold hydrotherapy, actually putting a cold wet towel over your thyroid, which is right below the Adam's apple, and that's been found to stimulate thyroid functioning. Another way to treat thyroid is looking at different other hormones that are interacting with the thyroid. For instance, if you have elevated levels of cortisol, that will inhibit your T4 to T3 conversion, as well as inhibit the effectiveness of the TSH signal to the thyroid hormone and the production of thyroids.
And cortisol is the stress hormone, right?
It's a stress hormone, that's correct. So whenever I see a patient with hypothyroid, I'm also thinking about how are their adrenal glands, how's the stress in their life, and is that contributing to hypothyroid? Because if you give a person thyroid hormone, let's say, and they have hypothyroid, they may get better for a little bit, and then the effects peter out, and you're wondering why. And it's because that adrenal gland issue is still going on. So that's one thing. Another hormone that can be involved in thyroid is melatonin. It's the hormone that as the sun goes down and it gets dark, melatonin increases and makes you sleepy and you fall asleep. Now, too much melatonin can decrease your levels of T4.
Oh, it
so
can.
you can actually, in the winter time, say when there's a lot more darkness, especially if you live somewhere in Alaska, you could do like a light box therapy or a full spectrum light bulb, sit in front of it in the morning, and that light will, you know, down-regulate your melatonin production and help healthy amounts of thyroid be produced. And another thing to look at is foods. Some foods are what are called goitrogens. They actually cause a swelling of the thyroid if eaten in too much. And those are foods like broccoli, cabbage, in that whole
you can't
family,
eat too much
cruciferous.
broccoli? No?
Well, you're not, you know, if you eat a lot of broccoli, it can contribute to that. But however, if you cook these cruciferous vegetables, it inactivates that goitrogen effect. So all you have to do is cook them to get rid of that effect. Now, the autoimmune side of hypothyroid is another thing to be addressed. Why does this person have autoimmune condition? What is the cause there? And there are several naturopathic approaches to treating the cause of any autoimmune condition, looking at food sensitivities, leaky gut syndrome, you know, balancing gut flora, and things like fish oil and DHEA can be helpful at helping out that autoimmune condition. And incidentally, DHEA lowers cortisol hormone. So if you remember, cortisol is what inhibits that T4 to T3. So if you give DHEA, it lowers their cortisol. They have more T4 to T3. But usually I test cortisol first to make sure it's not elevated. And you certainly wouldn't want to do cortisol or DHEA in hyperthyroid. So realize I'm talking about hypothyroid here and getting the thyroid to function better. So, I've mentioned a lot of nutrients and a lot of ways to support the thyroid. Conventionally, the thyroid hormone itself is given, so that's an option, and that'd be the T4 is given, and you just hope that it can be converted well to T3. So sometimes people aren't converting well, so they'll be on a conventional medication, and I'll give nutrients that help that conversion process. And next level would be a glandular, ground-up thyroid hormone, usually from a pig or a cow, and that contains some T4 and T3 in it, and that can be given. And the next level, you could say, would be glandular that's had the hormone removed. So the idea there is that the ground-up gland provides everything that the thyroid would need to make thyroid hormone, so it supports that process. So in summary, there are nutrients, there are herbs, which I didn't talk a lot about, but there are herbs that affect thyroid functioning, and to support the production of thyroid hormones, as well as treat that autoimmune cause.
Thank you.
Thank you.